Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Unraveling. I am so excited to be here with my guest today, Natalie Edmondson. I first met Natalie at my Ireland retreat, which I did in September of 2022. And she had lived in Dubuque, but had moved back to Florida. And that's how she heard about the retreat, was because somehow we were connected on Facebook, because he lived in Dubuque and knew, who knows how these things happen. But anyway, Natalie, welcome here to the podcast.
Thank
And
you.
is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself?
Thank you, Erin. So happy to talk to you always. Yeah, we lived in Dubuque for 7 years, and I think that we just have a lot of mutual friends in the same circles, and that's how we got connected through, virtually. And I've always followed what you've been doing and some others too. So, yeah, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida with my husband and 3 kids. And we most recently moved to outside of Dallas, Texas back in July. So now we have another new cross country move and culture to get used to. So we've been here a little over 2 months. And yeah, we're just doing the things, trying to find our way.
Yes. And as Natalie knows, I'm now moving to Florida. So we've been talking a little bit about that because I'm like, how do you do it? How did you leave
Mm,
your comfort zone of Dubuque? Not that neither one of us are from Dubuque, but yeah. So
yeah.
anyway, it's been nice to have Natalie to talk to about that because it's a big decision.
Yeah. I mean, we've moved 9 times. We've moved cross country 3 times. And so it never gets easier. Uh, it's just different. But, like I was telling you before privately, and I have no problem saying it, is that when you know you're being called to go, it makes it a lot easier to lean into that. Because, when we're called to go somewhere, a way is always made. I
Mm,
call it the spiritual red carpet. It has a way of kind of unfolding itself that doesn't really make sense. People move into your space, they offer assistance, they figure out, what you need and they offer it. And those are also people who are open to hearing what it is that their purpose is. And so it's actually a really unbelievable process. It doesn't mean it's not hard, but I always say everything's hard, so pick your heart. I would rather always choose the path in which I'm being asked to go rather
yeah.
than stay in my space, comfort space.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. I feel like, yeah, like you said, there's going to be big shifts that come out of this in our lives, but right now I'm just dealing with the holding on, like, oh my God, what am I doing?
You're on the
Yeah,
climb in the roller coaster.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
A-
exactly. That's a
And
great way to put
when you get to the top and then you're like, free fall. Yeah.
it. Totally.
Wee. And then you get back, you get through it and you go, that was okay. It wasn't that bad.
Right. Then there's another one you have to climb, and then yeah, it's
Yeah,
exactly.
that's true.
Well, I wanted to talk about like the soul retreats because I'm curious, what what prompted you to come on the retreat in Ireland, and then you just went to Italy with us in this just a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
which we're all still coming down from that experience because it was so magical.
Yeah.
But what bring us back to like last year when you signed up for
Mhm.
Ireland? Like what said yes in your soul to go, oof, yep, I need that? Because I know you told me it wasn't a good time for you.
No, was not. I think during the pandemic, I really started to feel the pressure cooker of being forced to stay home and do the things. And my lifetime longing has always wanted to go explore and see and do, and I've never had the chance to do it. I worked internationally for a few years, but I didn't have the capacity to go do fun things or see anything. I was strictly there to work and maybe go out to dinner, entertain customers. So I didn't really get to see much. But as a little girl watching my father travel the world, I always was like, I really want to go do that. And mostly because I love cultures and I love people, and I just have a deep appreciation um, when I do travel for the way other people live. And I always want to like get lost in that. I want to like step out of my reality and jump into someone else's thing and say, all right, what are we doing? You know, I don't want to be Natalie. I want to be Natalia. Let's
Irene, yeah.
yeah, Natalia from Italia. So I remember having a conversation with my husband and I said, when this thing is over, I'm out of here. Like when the restrictions are off, I'm gonna make a way. So that was in 2020, and then of course, like we moved during the pandemic from Iowa back to Florida. There was still a lot of uncertainty at that point. But I was actually in a yoga class the first week of January 2022, and they were going around saying, "What's your intention for the year? Like, what do you want to do?" And I don't even know where it came from. I just said, "I'm going to run the New York City Marathon." And then I was like, wait a minute, what? Now I said it out loud. So now I have to like figure this out. So, really, from January until November, my life was dedicated to this training and fundraising, which I ran for a charity that means a ton to me. And I had a lot of people rooting for me. Sandy Hook Promise to help prevent gun violence in schools. And I think it was in April when you posted
Mhm.
like, would anyone be interested in an Ireland retreat? And I was like, what? I mean, it was like a needle off the record, like, you know,
Mhm.
and everything in my head that is a planner and like obvious, like we were all going to be traveling to New York, all five of us. This is an expensive trip. I have all this training to do, all this fundraising to do. Like, this is a really bad time. Like maybe another time, but this is a really bad time. And I immediately said to myself, I don't care. I have to go. I have to go. And I really don't know what it was that kind of pushed me over the fear of saying yes. I think it was just me being open to the idea that maybe I don't know what's best for myself. It's like, I mean, if I get out of my monkey mind and my ego and I say, this doesn't make sense, most things that are connected to God, source, spirit, whatever, don't really make sense. You
Right.
know, it's just a feeling that reverberates within your body that just screams, hell yes. And I always say to Kevin, whenever we're making hard decisions, whether it's moving across country or taking a new job, I always say literally, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
Like it's got to ring all the bells. And for me, and I just got chills through my whole body. For me, Ireland was a hell yes. And I really didn't know what it was. I just knew I needed to go.
Mhm.
And it absolutely changed my life.
Ooh, tell us more about that. Because I don't think I really got, what am I trying to say? I don't think I really got what it did for you clearly. So I'm curious.
So there's so many things to talk about. It's not even just one faceted, but the thing that sticks out the most in this moment was I had been feeling a very deep disconnect from my spiritual path.
Mhm.
It felt like something was missing. Um, I didn't quite know how to get that back. Um, all of the traditional things that people might tell you to do, like go to church or talk to a pastor or get involved in a ministry or a book club. That was not it. Those are all great things to do if they work for you, but mine was much deeper than that. Maybe it had something to do with moving back to Florida and I was taken away from, a lot of my mentors where I felt like I was supported. I really didn't have that back in Florida. And so I was feeling this kind of just lost, kind of a lost feeling. And I tell you, the minute we touched down in Dublin, it felt like a homecoming. It felt like a homecoming that resonated deep within, here. And when we started on our journey and all the little things, I always call the retreats like little spiritual scavenger hunts. Like,
Writing that down.
because you go and you meet the people and you like, okay, now we're a new family. And it's like, okay, how is our little family going to like bond and do the thing? And everyone's bringing in their gifts and their talents and adding to the group in some capacity. And then you meet your awesome driver, like Albert. Now he's my brother. He will never get rid of me. Or just people along the way, like the guys I talked to in the pub, the owner of the pub who ended up giving me a $20 bill after I paid my $8 tab for a pint. And he gave me a $20 bill for my charity for the run. I mean, I made a grown man cry in a pub when I reminded him of where they live. I said, you take it for granted that you live in this magical healing space and this place and no fault of your own. We all do it. You forget because you live there. It's grounded in who you are,
Right.
it's available to you all the time. I said, but we have all come here not to be tourists. We've come here to heal. We've come here to do work on ourselves. And I said, you don't have to go very far. You can walk right down that road, 5 minutes and lay on that beach. And I swear, if you let it, it will transform you.
Mm, that I know exactly the beach you're talking about. Magical.
And the man's just like, "Whoa," he's crying. He's like, and I'm like, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So,
And
when you stay open to that kind of thing, the gifts are bountiful. It's
yes.
like the universe is waiting for you to just let it do its thing. Um, so that's how it changed my life because I was open, willing, able, ready to receive. Yeah, snaps. And it did. And it flooded me literally and then overflowed. And I think I pulled you aside on the beach and I was in tears because I was just like, there's been very few times in my life where I feel like spirit has shown up for me in a very real way that reminds me who I am. And
Mm,
on that beach that day, I was very much reminded that one, who I am, two, I am not alone,
mm.
and three, the best is yet to come. We got this. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, Natalie. And I remember that. I don't know if it was that day or the second time we went to that beach, but just the overwhelming feeling I got that we were just supposed to run and charge towards the ocean like warrior-esque
Yes.
people. And we all went just like
Yeah. Braveheart.
yeah, it was like Braveheart, go crazy and run to the
Yeah.
ocean edge on that beach. It was like there's like a well, Ireland, it's like there's like a warrior spirit there.
Yes.
And yeah, and you touch on some good points because well, I'm sure some of you have heard this before, but I'll just say it one more time. Like Ireland was the first retreat. That was a learning experience for me because that was the first time I got a download. I thought to myself, it was in April of 2022. I thought to myself, I really want to go to Ireland because similar to you, I didn't get to travel a lot, obviously, because of COVID, for the last couple of years. And then I was like, I want to go to Ireland and just go in September for myself. And not 5 minutes later, it was like, you should bring a group. And I just like, I literally looked up at the ceiling and I'm like, that's really funny. Less than 6 months away to put together an international retreat. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And it's similarly to what you're saying, like, yeah, spirit, God does not, it doesn't make sense. But
Mhm.
if you follow that guidance that you're given, it will always work out, like you said, and it
Yeah.
did. And I put that notice out, and like 50 people said, I'm interested, and of course, we ended up with 11, but
Mhm.
that was my sign to go ahead and do this. And it
Mhm.
came together, and Italy was the same way. And um, the places we go on these retreats, what my shtick is, because a lot of people do different retreats, my shtick is taking people to sacred places. So when Natalie said the second she touched down, she felt like she had come home, it's like you're walking on the land that where we go to these sacred spots where there's vortexes of energy and ley lines in the earth that when just by walking on them and being in those places, you, how do I like to say it? You take on the codes of the energy of that land, and it
Mhm.
works on you. Like, I'm doing work with you with the group too, but the land is working on you. And for some people that's going to make sense. Some people might be like, what the heck are they talking about?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say to that might make that land a little bit? Because that's the best way I can say it, is like
Well,
land.
the science of grounding, like the actual science of
Right.
grounding, the electrons, the positive and negative electrons that we can receive, which is real science from the earth, is a real thing. So, you know, I firmly believe that and I call it a part of that spiritual scavenger hunt. Like, you're going around and you're collecting for not only from people, but from the land and the energy of the different places where, thousands of years of folks, tens of thousands, some of them, have
Yeah.
poured their life's work into this
Or
land.
pilgrim, I can't say that word. Pilgrim to, like
Yeah,
a CC, for
pilgrimage.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah, pilgrimage. Like a CC, people have been pilgriming there, pilgrimaging.
Yeah.
Why is that hard?
I don't
Um,
know. It just is.
this is for centuries, like since
Yeah.
the 1100s or maybe even before that.
Right. And these are places that are not hotspot tourist places. These are,
Is, but other places no.
right. Like, it's interesting that, we can learn from the wisdom of some of the people in the past that dedicated their entire lives to following and listening to the voice of God, or, their higher power, willing to give up their entire life, like St. Francis of Assisi did. And there's got to be some wisdom in that. I mean, these places are the way they are for reasons that we can't necessarily think of in our minds, but we can feel it in our bodies.
Yeah. And then the energy of all the people that go there, go to these places seeking wisdom and clarity and praying and sending their good wishes or whatever. It's like also our collective energy in those places has an effect as well because it builds up over time. So we're talking centuries
Yes.
of energy,
Right. And all,
concentrated energy in one place.
yeah, it's like, what is the adage in the Bible that even says, when one or more are gathered in my name, I am here? I mean, we are literally standing in these cathedrals. There's priests and nuns and, just normal Jack and Janes like us who walk in, and we're all bringing our divine light that is innately with us. We're bringing in all of our intentions, and we are a force to be reckoned with. Like, we are a collective. And, that's a very powerful place to be in. And it could be very overwhelming, but very healing too, you know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, I have to ask, what was Italy like for you? Well, Italy, just so that everyone knows, Italy, so Natalie, we have to just share this story too. So Natalie, several of the people in the Ireland trip, I remember it was our last day, and if it was Gayleen or Donna or somebody was like, "Where are we going next, Erin?" And I said, "Italy." And I was just like, "Well, that was weird," because
Where'd that come from?
I'm all about sacred sites, and not that Italy doesn't have sacred sites, but I
Yeah.
was, like, yeah, spiritual sites, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then and then Natalie starts pushing me when I got back. She's like sending me these
Yeah.
websites and things about Italy, and then I started doing research, and then that's when I got like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, again, I was so humbled at our Italy retreat. I couldn't even talk during our closing ceremony barely because I was crying so much in gratitude and
Yeah.
humbleness for the way the divine is working through me to create these retreats. Like, I'm not even saying this like to be
It's
biased or anything. It's
it's
magic.
unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I
And
remember
it's
standing next to you at one point, and I'm like, "We can't make this up. Can't make this up." It's just
no. I was just telling somebody today about it, a friend of mine. I was like, and then one of our guides that we didn't even like a tour guide of Siena, of course, she ends up being a Reiki person.
right.
I don't know anybody in Italy that did Reiki.
Yeah.
It's like we just kept collecting these magical people
Yeah.
along the way. But anyway, so the Italy retreat, I started doing research and found it was the land there balances the feminine and masculine energies. And so that was my focus of that retreat. And
Mhm.
I feel like that was a really powerful thing for us all to dive deeply into, not only through the land, but through some teaching.
Yeah.
Now we need to know, Natalie, it's been a couple weeks. I know that Italy is still unraveling in your life because that's how these retreats work. But
Yes.
what do you want to share about that experience?
Well, just to backtrack for a hot second, in Ireland, it was about reclaiming um, more love. Ireland spiritually is known as the heart of the earth, and Italy is known as the crossroads of the earth. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to balance my feminine and masculine energy, whatever that means. I don't know.
Whatever.
But it was one of the most powerfully spiritual experiences I've ever had. And from the minute I got off the plane, which I've never really had a true soul longing to kind of, I mean, I thought like, oh, yeah, I would love to go to Italy because why not? The food everyone says is amazing. Like the Romans were there and I can see all these ruins and all that. But like from the minute I got to Rome, I kept having all these feathers um, in my path. And it happens every once in a while, but I mean, this was an inordinate amount of feathers. Um, and then some would fall out of the sky and like hit me. Some would be like right next to my foot. Some would fall on my foot. Some would be in my seat when I came back from using the restroom in a restaurant or something. And I was like, again, you can't make this stuff up. So I didn't
And what
quite,
do feathers represent to you?
yeah. So feathers, I consider like spiritual breadcrumbs. It's like a validation from spirit.
Yeah.
And for someone who needs validation to be told you're doing it right, you're okay, you can trust yourself,
Yeah.
this is a physical reminder that you are on the right path, that you are doing all the right things. We just moved to Texas. I've got 3 children that just started school. Is it a great idea that I leave the country a month after we moved into this house? Probably not, but it was also imperative that I go. I didn't quite know what for, but I knew I needed to go. And I think that doubt was kind of squashed immediately as I started to like experience these little breadcrumbs as I was going. And then when we started the retreat, we ended up leaving the area and moving on to the different areas. And still, I had little feathers, big feathers, always falling in my path. And I'm like, I got it. I know I'm doing the right thing. It's good. I'm good, you know. But maybe it wasn't all just so much for me too, is like there was people alongside of me who are also learning from my journey how to trust and are physically seeing these things happen. I can't, like I said, you can't make this up. I'm like, oh my gosh, another feather. Look at the things. And they're like, wow, that's really strange and also really cool, you know? So I wasn't really quite sure what I was going to get into when we got there, but I just kept getting reminded over and over, like, you're in the right spot. You're exactly where you need to be, and just trust the process. And I learned a lot about myself.
Mm,
You know, a lot of times we're given messages or told things or like little clues, you know, or like we're fed a line or we figure out a thought in therapy or something happens and you make a decision about something. And so you have all these pieces. And then the retreat kind of has a way of connecting all the pieces together. And then you have that aha moment where you go, oh my gosh. And I've seen for myself and other people on the retreat literally hit their knees because they have a breakthrough of some kind, you know, like it's a relief to know that you're not nuts, that that there are things to connect and that it will make sense. You just have to give yourself the time and space to see it and feel it and connect it. And if you don't remove yourself from your everyday life, you will not be in the right headspace to make those connections. You may get messages, but you will have a very difficult time in connecting all the things together to make it come full circle. Um, I 100% believe that every retreat that I can make is well worth my time and investment because it's the kind of, I call it soul sojourns. And I'm collecting the pieces that I need in order to make those connections. And it's never over. This is something that we do over and over again because if you want to grow and you want to be better, if you want to be more grounded in your body, less in your head, if you want to ascend to the next level of seeing the world as it is and seeing yourself as you were meant to be, you have to be willing to put yourself out there in every way possible. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be authentic. You have to value yourself enough to make time and space to do the things.
yeah. Yeah, so well said, Natalie. Uh, there's something, it like talking about like making these connections. And yeah, like when you're at home, like Natalie and I were both talking before that we started recording, like life is crazy. Like life is crazy right now and for both of us and probably for most people. Most people can find their version of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in that and maybe you're a spiritual person on a spiritual path or a sensitive person and maybe you're doing some daily practices, but there's nothing in my experience, and it sounds like in yours too, there's nothing like traveling away and giving yourself space and time away from your daily life and daily
Mm-hmm.
routine to really go deep. And I've heard it said, another person said this, that you can do a year's worth of healing in 1 week on retreat because you're consumed. Like
I believe that. I believe that
I believe
100%.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's never, nothing is ever a good time.
No.
Nothing. It's never a good time. I remember when we first got married and people would ask us, oh, when are you going to have a baby? I'm like, it's just not a good time. It's just not a good time, you know, and it wasn't a good time. I was starting a business and I had nobody to model myself after. I had no women, people I could look up to who were business owners and mothers. And so I had a lot of excuses. And then this baby was literally sent to me to save my life. I was struggling really bad. And I had a friend ask me, well, how do you know when it's the right? I'm like, it's never a good time. So if you want to do the thing, do the damn thing. And it goes for retreats too, because like, especially for women, we're programmed to believe that something like this is superfluous, superficial, only for those
Selfish.
of privilege. Um, but I say there's probably some truth to that, maybe for the privilege part because of the money factor. But I will tell you, if there's a will, there's a way. You can figure it out. And you don't have to like sign up for something in the next 6 months or a year. You can plan out your retreats, go out a couple of years in advance, and trust your partner. I mean, my children are 13, 10, and 7. And my husband is not their babysitter, he's their father. And he is well equipped to take care of their needs and the day to day of this house. And other than just the like stuff that I usually take care of, I wrote down like, hey, this is happening. The rest is up to him, and he fully is capable and did it. And it's just as good for him because he gets time with them. He's building his confidence and being a solo parent. And, he travels for work all the time. So I'm thrown into the fire alone all the time. But like, I do have
Huh.
some friends that are like, how does your husband let you do that? I'm like, what do you mean? He wants me to go. He wants me to be the best version of myself because I come back and I pour into the family a more balanced, satisfied person. I have much more loving mother energy than crazy mother energy.
Right.
And then hopefully pour into our marriage too from a different lens, a different perspective to take us, to another place. And so I think that me sharing with him, hey, this isn't a good time, and I get that, but something inside me is just dying for something else. I need something. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but if you just are vulnerable enough to say it out loud, your thing just might come true.
Yes.
Yeah.
You bring up so many good points because I talk to so many women. In fact, I talked to somebody this week that has never done anything like this before and yet has a desire, felt the calling. And so we talked on the phone, which I'm totally happy to do for people. And it was like I worry about like if my husband's going to make healthy food for the kids or if he's going to be able to handle everything. And I love how you said trust that your partner can handle this, and as I told her, like if you've never done anything like this and your family leans on, like here's the thing, people are going to lean on you if you're the one doing it all. Guess what? Nobody's going to be like, hey, it looks like you're doing a lot right now, why don't I take something off your plate? That's not reality, right? I'm sorry.
No. Not typically.
Typically, I mean, there are
Yeah.
occasions, but typically the husbands are working, you're work, and it's like
Mhm.
they're kind of in their own little world and they're not typically the ones to be like, let me take this off your plate.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you step away,
Mhm.
it puts your partner in a place where they have to step up. Not
Mhm.
only that, and it builds it's empowering in a lot of ways.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it works in your favor because they're like, oh my gosh, she does so much that
Mhm.
I take for granted. And, like when you come back, your relationship, it's like that time, what's that saying? When you're away from someone, the heart grows fonder. Absence
Oh.
makes the heart grow fonder. It does, because they're like, she does so much. And they've been taking a lot of that for granted, not
Mhm.
maliciously for the most
Mhm.
part, but just because you do it. As
Mhm.
women, we just do it. We don't think to ask for help. We don't delegate well.
Mhm.
We are born and bred to be caregivers and to do it all for everybody.
Yes.
And so when you do something like this, you're empowering your family. You're showing your kids that mom knows how to take care of herself
Yes.
And you need to take care of yourself too. Like you're modeling for your
Yes.
children good self-care because they see mom come back and she's bright and she's light and she's happy.
Hmm.
And maybe the mom that left was a little like,
Yeah.
like I'm at my wit's end here.
Yeah, you look a lot cuter doing it than me.
Like, oh,
That's a great point because we talked about that on the retreat is modeling self-care and building this house from within that can withstand anything. So when you afford yourself the time and space and the connection amongst like-minded people, what you're doing is you're building and fortifying this fortress from within, and you rely less on other people's things, and all that stuff doesn't really matter anymore. It starts to matter less and less. Like they acted a certain way, they said a certain thing, and it's just like, ugh, bounces off and you just move on. And, what's great about the modeling piece is, it's always the both and, we show our daughters how to build a house from within so that we are not finding and seeking validation from other outside places. And then we're modeling to our sons that a woman who is strong from within is a good match, or whatever they choose. They don't have to choose what. I'm just saying you're showing them that a healthy partner is strong from within and doesn't rely on this needy kind of, I need you to validate me every second to tell me I'm okay.
right.
And then you have a partnership that's working symbiotically and not, sucking one from the other, like just taking all the attention or, all the
Codependent
stuff.
and all that stuff.
Right. And then also, and not just related to children, but we're also showing, generations who haven't experienced this yet, like the older generation than you, that you're healing ahead, you're healing sideways, you're showing friends, coworkers, colleagues, everybody, that this is okay and it's appropriate.
Yeah.
And for someone like me who always needed to be told, like, if you would like to go do this thing, it's available to you. I needed permission in order to feel like I was making a right decision. I wasn't even in therapy until someone offered it as an alternative. I'm like, oh, I hadn't even thought about it. And I didn't even know I needed permission to go. It was like
Mm,
somebody needed to tell me, like, this is something available to you. And if you need it, you should go take advantage of it. And
right.
I was like, oh, duh. Like it was just something that I
Yeah.
had built up in my mind that either wasn't appropriate or wasn't for me. I just needed somebody to tell me. And so I
Yeah.
was talking to someone else about retreats earlier this week as well. And I just said, if you ever just needed permission to say yes to something, I'm giving it to you right now. Okay. So everyone
I love
listening,
that.
I'm now giving you permission. If you need permission to
Natalie
say
is
yes,
giving you permission.
so
Like,
you're welcome. This is the
well,
sign.
and I love Natalie, like if you follow her online, when she goes on retreat, every day that she's there, she gives you like an update. So it's really fun. You get to kind of follow her journey. And I hope you need to start sharing those to my page too, because I'm not good at that. Like when I'm leading retreat, everything else
Yeah.
is out the window and
You're in a different mode. Yeah.
I'm in a completely different mode. But I see the comments on your post and people are like, that's so inspiring. And I feel like I can hear a little internal voice in them saying, much similar to the voice I had when I went on my first retreat. That looks really cool. I wish I could do that, but I'll never be able to.
Yeah.
That's literally what I told myself when I went on my first retreat to Bali. I saw the teacher doing it. And I was a yoga teacher at the time. And I just was like, I wish I could do that, but I don't, I'd never be able to. And so I think that is a story that a lot of us do. Like watching your journey, they're like, wow, that looks so cool. I wish I could do that, but I never will be able to. We are what we believe, right? So,
Mhm.
I got to be right about that for a long time. I didn't do my first, I went on my first retreat like 2008. I didn't lead my first retreat till 2016. No, 14.
Okay.
Um, so, that's many years that I got to be right. Yep, I'll never do that.
Yeah.
So, just something to put out there. Like, if anybody listening is like, wow, this sounds really cool. I would really like to go on one of those. And I get a lot of those messages from people and they
Hmm.
don't end up signing up. And we can talk ourselves out of things really easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. It's it's really easy to lean into fear
Yeah.
as a crutch and an excuse. But I will tell you, if you do have an inkling or a feeling or a longing, it's not there for nothing.
Mhm.
And if you do have fears and you do have concerns, talk about them, because the feeling and the inkling and the longing is never going to go away. Matter of fact, it's probably going to exponentially increase as time goes by, because your soul is screaming for something like this, and as time goes by, that internal clock just starts to go, you're running out of time, lady. Get your stuff together.
Let's go.
Come on. So I would just say, like, you know, I love Glennon Doyle. She always says we can do hard things, and everything is hard. Pick your hard. It's hard to stay in the same place and to like revolve in that space where it's comfortable, but you're not growing, and you're not happy because you're not growing, and you're bored, and you need variety, and you need something because you know that this isn't it, but you're so scared. And then this side is the path in which does scare you, but the difference is it will change you, and you will walk through the fire, but you will walk through the fire onto the other side of into hope that there's a better way to be, there's a better way to exist, there's a better way to show up in the world, there's a better way to show up for yourself. And that is more authentic and more beautiful than sitting over here into this space that just revolves in like a record player. So they're both hard. Pick your hard. I always say pick the hard that goes with, same thing with the move is, yes, it's hard to move, but I know that's where I'm being led to go. This path, this hard thing is going to be difficult, but I know that if I just follow the path, let the waymakers do their job. They come in, they say, I got it, you're a waymaker, you know that, Erin. And they do the things, and then this red carpet rolls out. And then by the time you know it, you're on a plane to Chiang Mai going, how the heck did I get here?
Who in the what now?
Or you're flying back from Italy and you're saying buongiorno to people in like Charlotte, because you're just like on this different level of like, but
Grazie.
yeah.
Grazie. Like that's come out of
Yeah,
my mouth a few times. Yeah.
it did. Yeah. Pick your hard, and the
Mm.
rest will fall in place. I firmly believe that.
I think that's a great way to sum it up. We came full circle. We came back to the moving because I was going to say that's exactly. I was just sitting here like kind of almost giggling because that's the exact same thing I told this woman this week who is curious about the retreat. Is like she was really nervous. She's never traveled this far. The next retreat is to Thailand, and um yeah, I just said, I'm stepping into the unknown, moving to Florida. And yesterday, even I had some appointments and I was just driving around and I was sad. I was like, what am I doing? I love Dubuque. And like it's been such a safe place to land and to grow and to heal. And I know you and I have talked about sharing similar experiences about Dubuque.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and was like, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I crazy? We're selling, like we're selling our house. We have a good interest rate. Like I was like,
What are we doing? Yeah. I
but
cried. I cried for weeks about leaving Dubuque. I knew what I was going into, but it was just this place where I felt like as soon as you get comfortable, there's a certain kind of rug that's pulled out from underneath you because it's like, okay, time to go
Well,
now.
fly, oh, fly, little birdie.
Let's go, baby bird. Let's go. And so, for those of us who reluctantly say, okay, it is sad, you mourn that little piece of it, but you also have permission to be excited about what's coming, because
Yeah,
it's all good.
and similar to what you were saying, like you pick your heart. I know I'm being called somewhere else. Some people are being called on retreat. And if I didn't do the hard thing of moving forward, I would be doing the hard thing of feeling really crappy that I didn't do the other hard thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that saying, pick your hard, because it's
Yeah. Pick your heart. It's all hard. I love the idea too, is when we say yes to the hard thing that we know is in line with what we should do. And we know, how do you know what's right? Like, how do you know what's safe and how do you know what's right? I always say, if you get out of your head and into your body and you lean into the one that feels right, this is the right thing to do. Um, that right there is your clue as to which way to go. But until you can get still and you can really be honest with yourself, that's a difficult task to discern yourself. But I think talking about the concerns and the fears and things out loud is a
Yeah,
great way to release some of that blockages that don't serve us, and allows you to feel the feelings that you need to feel. And that, you probably have a lot of suggestions on how to release some of that stuff because that's what you do best. So, yeah. So if you're struggling with how to make a good decision, reach out and ask the questions. How do
yeah,
I get out of my head into my body and remove some of the blockages so I can feel what's the right thing for me?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Oh my gosh. This was so good, Natalie.
So good.
So good. We got our
Good
person.
night.
Don't worry, we staged before this call, so we're
Yeah,
all good.
yeah.
No, so many good things talked about.
Mhm.
If you are sitting there on the fence, like if something about this conversation intrigued you and you want to know more about Thailand, that's coming up in January of 2024. But
Mhm.
like Natalie said, I've got Ireland coming up again in September 2024 and Bali in 2025. So there's some things out there
Mhm.
floating out into the future. Uh, just reach out to me. Like I'm happy to talk through any kind of fears with you and just see if this is the right fit for you. But
Mhm.
if you have that little spark, that little soul spark, maybe just give it a listen and reach out, do the thing,
Yeah, lean into it.
lean into the fear because it's staying in the comfort zone is. I mean, Tony Robbins. It's kind of a depressing thing to say, but he says if you're not growing, you're dying, and
I
I kind of agree
mean,
with him. Like if you're not growing, you're dying, whatever
yeah,
that means to you.
yeah,
That's straight from TR.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm excited about Thailand. I have not been there before, but I know it's spiritually coming up as the puzzle piece for me, the missing piece. So I'm excited to go on this literally elevate into the mountains of Pi in Thailand and see what that means, because I can start manifesting now, like, okay, I think that this is what it is that I should start to focus on, or whatever. A good thing to do if you are considering going on a retreat, or if you are leading up to that, you can always grab a journal. I like to do this and write down things, thoughts, people, places that come to mind when you think about the retreat, or things that remind you about the retreat. And if you end up going on the retreat, it's one of those full circle moments where you start to pull all those messages together, and then you go full circle and you go, oh my gosh, I've been getting messages to go to this dang thing for 6 months. I didn't even know. It's like this has
Right.
been in the
You don't
works.
write it down, you forget. And then
Yeah, it's been in the works. I didn't even know. I forgot, or I didn't think about it, or I'm just, our brains are doing 50 things all the time. So yeah, I'm fairly certain that this Thailand retreat has been on my spiritual menu for at least a year. I didn't even know.
that's
I'm When I
crazy.
start to look back at all the little things that were kind of like coming into place. So you just and I didn't even know I was going on this retreat until two
No,
weeks.
you didn't.
So I
Can
didn't
I
even
share
know.
about that? Because I think this is so sweet.
Yeah. So
Or you share it.
or you want to share? You want me to share?
No, I was just going to share my version of it, but you share because
Well,
you.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to share that. So we're in Italy on our Italy retreat, and I wake up one morning and I doing my thing, and I pulled up my email and I saw that there was a sign up, and I said, "Oh, okay." And I clicked on the name, and it was Natalie's husband. And I didn't say anything because I'm like, I wonder if she knows about this. And then, yeah, you finish the story from there.
Yeah, so I just called home and he said, I have your Christmas present. I want to tell you what it is. And Kevin's a really good gift giver. So I'm always like, oh, it's only like September. And so he said, I put the deposit in for you to go to Thailand. And he's
Uh,
like, you deserve it. When you go to these things, it changes you, it makes you feel a certain way that I can't deny isn't, 100% what I want for you. And so I just started crying because guess what? It's not a good time. It's not a good time to go to Thailand.
again.
It's not.
In
We
fact, we were all sitting around the table and I was talking about it. Some people were asking me about it, and you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. You're building a house. Like, you just got a lot going on.
Yeah, we're building a house. It's gonna close. We've got another house for sale that hasn't closed. We'll be getting ready to up and move. He's already taken off a little bit of time to be home so that the kids are taken care of. And I just was like, it's too much to ask. It's too much to ask. So I didn't. But he saw the value in me and he did the thing. And like I said, I just burst into tears because for the first time, not the first time, but for the first time in a little bit, I felt completely seen. Because
Mm.
you don't, when you're trying to convince somebody else that this is a good thing, it doesn't necessarily come across. But when somebody else sees it and sees it in you, and then they see you,
Mm.
that is magic. And
Yeah.
so,
Mm.
I mean, you can't really like say anything more than that. That's just to be seen.
You,
Everybody wants to be seen.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're snap clapping Kevin Edmondson and all the supportive husbands and
Yeah.
wives of the people that come on these retreats. Like, we
Yeah.
love you all. And if you're a husband or a wife listening and you're like, I would never want my spouse to do that, maybe reconsider that thought, because it the person's going to come back more filled up, and
Mhm.
you're going to be receiving that
Yeah.
overflow. Yeah.
It's never always about the person on the retreat. It's another both and. You are flowing and ebbing and giving and taking from the land, the people on the retreat. And then when you come back, you're ebbing and flowing and doing all the things. So it reverberates. It's a ocean. It just ripples. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful gift to give your partner, a beautiful gift to give yourself. And thank you for making a waymaker.
Well, okay. Last thing we're going to say, oh my gosh, I don't even know how long we've been talking, but
I don't know.
I could talk to you forever, Natalie. Um, just lastly too, because you mentioned about Thailand and what that's been missing for you. And I just think that's so interesting because, again, this is just a universal message. When I, like, using me as an example, when I follow those breadcrumbs that I'm being given. So I had my retreat in Bali this past January, and whenever I go that far, I like to travel to some place that I haven't been before, if I can, if it works with my schedule. And I'd always heard since 2011 about northern Thailand from different people I would meet traveling. And I never got to go there. So I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to scout out. This is the first time I was scouting out a location for a retreat. I've never done this before. Most of the time, the retreats just come to me. And I'm like checking out some different hotels, and I'm just not really vibing. And I didn't really love the town pie. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. But I loved where I was staying, which was way on the outskirts. So it was my second to last day, and I'm driving my little motorbike that I rent when I'm there. Can you imagine? Motorbike? It's funny. You'll probably get to see it. Only been one accident.
Oh.
Yeah. Still I have they call it a road tattoo. I've got a road tattoo.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
That was 2011. But anyway, I still got back on the horse even after that. This podcast is taking a turn. Anyway, I'm riding my motorbike and I look to my left and I see this, like, I'm like, what am I seeing? It's a picture of a cat doing yoga. And I was
It's your spirit animal.
A painting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta pull over and take a picture of that. And then I'm like, there's like several of them, like pictures of cats doing yoga. And I'm like, what is this place? And it was like, has this like funky, like hippie looking storefront. And so I was like, gonna see if the store was open. And the next thing you know, this Thai man comes around and he's like, sorry, you can't hear me. I'm motioning as they do in Thailand. By the way, in Thailand, you cannot do this. You cannot motion the way that we'd like to have somebody
like come here. Yeah.
Yeah, like come here. If you do that with your fingers pointed up, like we would typically do in the United States, like come here. That is in Asia, that's promiscuous. You're saying like, I want to have sex with you.
Oh,
sorry to the children. So you do it like that. You do it with the fingers pointed down. It's so
I do not consent. Come here.
This is come here, not come make love to me. Okay. Anyway, again.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. The podcast just took a dark turn. No. So he's doing his motioning, and I'm like, it's broad daylight. So I was like, well, I guess I'll follow him. We're winding through these like little dark alleyways, and I'm like, I hope this guy doesn't take me somewhere to kill me, but I'm like, I'm following him. And he takes me back and it opens to this, like there's a mountain view and there's this beautiful Thai woman in a kitchen that's all open air. And then I walk around the corner and I'm like, and then there's like a seating area. And I'm like trying to take it all in. And I go, what is this place? And the woman's like, oh, I make vegan food. And I said, okay. And I look, there's like, I was like, I'll take some vegan ice cream. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching all of these, we call them expats, but it just means like people not native. So not native of Thailand. So people that are traveling, tourists. They're all like walking up and they're talking about like the class that they just took. And then I look and there's a whole yoga space down there, again, also outside. Mm. And so now I'm like, I see the lady walking around. I go, is that a yoga studio down there or whatever? I was like, what's going on here? Basically, that's kind of what I was like to her. And she goes, oh, this is a retreat center. And I think I just like kind of sat back and my eyes got really big.
Yeah.
Because this was the second to last day. I'd given up. I'd given up scouting for a place. And I tell her this. I said, I came to Pi. I have chills. I came to Pi to find a place and I had given up. And she goes, oh, she's like, Ganesha pulled you in. And so she takes me around, and she has a little meditation room with a giant Ganesha. And we just sat in there, and she got some pictures of me, and we just sat in there and meditated. She's like, oh, Ganesha pulled you in.
Okay.
Great. So that's the story.
Yeah.
So not only, it's like, again, I cannot stress that how this stuff comes together is completely divinely guided. And I hope it's a testament to those of you listening that, start fucking listening to what you're being guided to. And if you aren't feeling like you're being guided, then ask, show me what I need to see here. Give me some clues, give me the breadcrumbs, tell me I'm on the right path, whatever you need to say. Because when it starts happening, it's like, it literally blows my mind every time. So I was going to say, like, not only did I get, I was just looking for a retreat center. I got a retreat center and a vegan chef who's Thai and speaks English really well and has a whole setup. Like it was super easy. Like this retreat was just like, boom, done.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me there's cat yoga, because that would be really exciting.
Well, the cat thing is that she rescues cats. So she has a
Okay.
cat rescue in her house.
Oh, okay. Well, I know where I'll be.
Right. Yeah. I didn't get to go. I'm sure she would let us go in there. I didn't get to go see the cats. But yeah. So she loves cats and loves yoga, so decided to put the two together. Paintings. I mean, what's not to love?
That's hilarious. That's so fun. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to see, how this group forms, what comes together, how we click and move and complement one another and see what comes up and just dive in and
Yeah.
go for it. Yeah. Ready.
It's gonna be great. There's spots still available, shared or private. Share if like you bring a friend. And yeah, we're excited. Yay, Natalie's coming.
Yay!
Any last words, Natalie? I mean, I think we've shared everything we need to share, but yeah.
No, I just think that, what you're doing is an amazing thing. And keep doing it. Follow those little, little pushers that tell you, go do the thing.
Follow the time men.
That's right. Go make a way, Erin. Go do the thing. Because it's much needed in this world. We are all just blown, whether our nervous system is blown, our adrenal system's blown, we are overwhelmed, overstimulated, overworked, overtired, under, loved, just name it, and it's too much. And this type of thing is needed in a real way for everybody. And so my prayer is just that you keep doing the things and making the ways, and that people listen to their inner knowing and know, okay, I need to go do the thing, no matter how scary it is. Because when I heal, you heal. When she heals, you heal. When he heals, I heal. We all are doing the things together, and whether or not we like it, it's happening. So let's get in the game.
Let's do this thing.
Let's do it.
Make it happen.
We're gonna get uniforms.
Yeah, right. Those are coming, by the way.
Good.
I won't share yet what the t-shirts are gonna say, but they're coming. Natalie knows, but we're not gonna put it out there yet.
Yes. Thanks for having me today, Erin. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
So nice to have you and to hear all about your experiences. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.